With Dingboche sitting at 4,410 metres, the nights were becoming bitterly cold. Sleep is interrupted by the laboured breathing of thin air at altitude, and until the first rays of sunshine rise above the mountain tops, there is little in the way of warmth outside the confines of your sleeping bag. Dingboche is a beautiful valley village sitting at a fork in the road between two valleys. With 2 nights set aside here for further acclimatisation, our goal was to spend the day climbing to 5,000 metres by trekking to the remote settlement of Chhukung. Chhukung is the ideal base for those wanting to cross the Khong La Ma, the first of the 3 passes on the more demanding Everest Base Camp and Gokyo Lakes 3 passes trek. In 5 days from now, we will cross the second of these, the Cho La Pass, into the Gokyo Lakes Valley. The towering Ama Dablam mountain range continues to dominate our view on one side of the valley, while Island Peak, another classic climbing trek, slowly looms into view as we get closer to Chhukung. If you're thinking about doing a trek in Nepal, organised groups are certainly an option. But for me, planning the detail of the adventure and having the freedom to do as you choose was very rewarding. I met Alan and Ruth in Kathmandu Airport and Simon in Dingboche. We became a solid group of independent trekkers, creating lifelong friendships through a wonderful shared experience. Upon reaching the tiny village of Chhukung, and after a quick lunch stop, we turned our attention to the steady climb to 5,000 metres. With every step feeling like we had lead weights in our boots, our spirits were lifted with more stunning panoramic views of Ama Dablam and Island Peak.
Meters, it's fair to say it is damn cold, but it's worth every second. Whew.
The wind chill factor will quickly help you lose feeling in your fingers and any exposed pieces of skin. So after a quick celebration for achieving today's goal, we hightailed it back down the valley to Dingboche to rest up in preparation for the following day's climb to Dingboche. The trek to Dingboche is another valley climb taking us up a further 600 metres in elevation to a sleeping height of 4,930 metres. Dingboche Peak and further up Sholatsi Peak sit across the valley, with the settlement of Perichi being dwarfed by their imposing height. The relentless climb is broken up with a well-earned rest at Dugla, where a chocolate-coated hobnob or a ridiculously expensive Snickers can be washed down with a nice warm honey, ginger and lemon tea. Another snail-paced uphill grind out of Dugla affords you more spectacular views back down the valley from where we have just climbed. At the top of the climb, you are then confronted with the grim reality that trekking at altitude holds. Chhukung Ri is the Everest memorial dedicated to the many trekkers and climbers who have lost their lives in this region. Dingboche is a welcome sight at the end of the day for both trekkers crossing the Kongla Ma High Pass or those choosing the valley climb. Your lodge's kitchen will help you refuel with a Nepalese meal of dal bhat and a mattress to rest your weary body on. The glacial valley of ice and rock, which has carved its niche into the landscape, becomes more obvious than ever at Dingboche, and with the anticipation of finally arriving at Everest Base Camp tomorrow, it's nice to spend a moment reflecting on how far we have come. The walk from Dingboche to Gorek Shep on this clear day was absolutely stunning. Gorek Shep sits at 5,180 metres, and trekkers would typically make the walk from Dingboche in the morning and organise their accommodation before making the final journey to the iconic base camp. Beyond Gorek Shep, in the far distance, you can tantalisingly see the goal of so many trekkers from around the world. Everest Base Camp is officially recorded at being 5,364 metres above sea level, whilst the summit of Mount Everest sits at 8,848 metres.
That there in the middle sticking up is Mount Everest.
There are actually very few glimpses of the Everest peak itself on the way to base camp, and its view is totally obscured when you actually arrive.
This is Everest Base Camp.
With the climbing season for those hoping to conquer the highest mountain in the world being April and May, in October only prayer flags and messages scribbled onto the rocks signifies your arrival at the camp. Nonetheless, the sense of accomplishment is overwhelming and is an achievement that will remain with you for the rest of your life.